You ever think you're finally waking up from a nightmare, but the moment you open your eyes, you're still in the same bed, soaked in the same blood? Then what are you going to do? I didn't even know whose blood it was the first time. The alarm hit 6:30 a.m., and my mom screamed like someone was cutting her open. By the time I reached the hallway, the bathroom door hung open. My brother's toothbrush was snapped like someone tried choking on it. I blinked. Suddenly, I was in the kitchen. Same time, same light. But now Dad was at the table eating cold eggs like nothing happened. He didn't look up, just muttered, eat, like a command. Like he'd said it 100 times before. There were two plates. Both had eggs. Both had blood. When I returned to my room, the blood on my bed was gone, sheets clean, clock said 7:30 p.m., but I hadn't lived through a day. My phone had no service. No texts were sending. The only app working was the voice recorder. I whispered into it, if you find this, I didn't kill him. I just wanted to know why he kept showing up in the mirror. That night, I cut an X into the back of my ankle, not to bleed, to test if the loop was real. Next morning, same scream, same blood, same broken toothbrush. But now there were three X, one old, one fresh, one infected. This wasn't a loop. It was a nesting doll, days stacked inside each other, scars hiding other scars. I told my mom. She wept and whispered, we agreed not to speak about the lake. What lake? Wake. That night I found water under my bed. Not a glass. A puddle. Footprints led to my closet. I opened it, heard someone breathing, switched on the lights. The closet vanished. Just a wall, like it had never been there. But the floor stayed wet. I wrote everything, every scar, every phrase they repeated, every time someone slipped and said he was safer in the dark. Who was he? Why was he bleeding? Why was his name in my notebook when I never wrote it? Why did the bathroom mirror show three of me? One blinking, one smiling, one mouthing, stop remembering. I didn't sleep. Or maybe I did. Next thing I knew, I was back at the table. Cold eggs, two plates. But this time, Dad looked at me and said, it's not your loop. You're just the witness. And you're remembering too much. I started scratching behind my ear at night, felt something beneath my skin. By the fourth day, my pillow was soaked in blood, and I found a black stitch holding my flesh shut, one I don't remember getting. Every morning, it pulls tighter like something wants out. Mom doesn't talk now, just hums the same melody every time I ask about the lake, and when I Googled it, every result redirected to a missing persons database. I searched my name. Nothing. Searched my brother. One result, died 7 years ago, but I see him brushing his teeth every morning. I recorded him to prove I wasn't insane, but playback was just static and low breathing. I began setting traps, marking the carpet, scratching the walls, blocking the doors with chairs. But every morning the marks were gone and the chair had moved an inch closer to the mirror. One morning I stared too long. My reflection blinked slower than me and smiled, but only half its face moved. One eye was glass, the mirror felt warm when I touched it. Behind me someone whispered, look at you, pretending to be the real one. I spun around, no one, just the closet, back again. But this time, the footprints weren't wet, they were burned into the carpet. When I reached for my phone, it rang first. Unknown number, I answered, and my own voice screamed, stop remembering. That night, I saw Dad dragging a heavy rug down the hallway, blood leaking out. I opened the door and he said, help me get rid of her, she saw too much. I asked who, he said, your mother, but she was already in the kitchen, humming, smiling, her front teeth missing. I blinked and the rug was gone. Dad was at the table again, two plates, cold eggs, and a new photo appeared in my phone. Me asleep, someone's hand gripping my throat, my nails dug into their wrist like it wasn't the first time. The next morning, the black thread behind my ear was gone. Instead, a coarse, colorless lock of hair was growing from the hole. Not mine, not human, not human. I pulled it, and my nose bled instantly. Then I heard scratching from inside the mirror, and when I looked, my reflection had no mouth but was still breathing, and behind it stood someone holding the broken toothbrush like a knife. I ran to the kitchen, screamed at my father, and he looked at me with dead eyes and said, you're not the witness anymore. You're the container. You're the container. I locked myself in the basement with every mirror I could find, positioned them to face each other until they reflected infinity, then sat in the center and waited to see which version of me blinked wrong first. By morning, all their eyes were bloodshot except one, and I couldn't remember if that one was mine. The lights flickered, and in the reflection I saw a man standing behind me holding surgical gloves and a jar of floating teeth. But when I turned around, there was only my father's coat hanging on a nail, the smell of anesthetic still fresh. I checked my body again, Found a new scar across my ribs, perfectly stitched. No blood, just skin that didn't feel like mine. Underneath it, I felt something moving. I swallowed the fear and tried to cut it open with a broken CD, but before I could pierce skin, my hands froze on their own, like someone else was driving the bones. My mother's voice came from the drain. Do not open what you are not equipped to name. I slammed my head into the floor until I passed out, hoping to reset again. But when I woke up, I wasn't on the floor. I wasn't on the floor. I was in a room I've never seen, strapped to a chair, a bright light above me, and someone whispering, "This version remembers too early." They cut something out of my neck and dropped it into a bucket, then showed it to me. It looked like a peeled fetus with a human eye and hair identical to mine. They said, "This is your anchor. Without it, you're pure loop." I screamed and tried to run, but I was already back in the kitchen, 2 plates, cold eggs, but this time there were 3 chairs, and the third one was occupied by someone wearing my dead brother's face, but with my voice. He smiled and said, "It's not that we're repeating, it's that we're replacing." I begged my mom to tell me what I am, but she just stared blankly and said, "We don't raise children, we grow backups." That night, I opened every notebook in the house and found hundreds of pages written in my handwriting, each one describing a different life I never lived. One where I drowned, one where I burned, one where I burned, one where I killed my parents, one where they were never born at all. I saw Zoe again in a dream, only it wasn't a dream. It was a feed looping from a hospital camera. She was sedated, muttering my name, scratching her own cheek open like she was trying to dig me out. Then the closet opened by itself, and instead of fear, I felt clarity, like everything fake had evaporated. Inside was a child I didn't recognize, holding a surgical mask and my bloodied X-marked ankle in his lap like it was detachable. I dropped to the floor and asked, "What do you want from me?" And he said, "We don't want anything from you. We want you empty." 10 years passed, or maybe none did. I found a certificate of release from some institution with my name on it, dated before I was born, signed by someone called Zoe Hartman, and in the photo attached to it, her face had been scratched out and replaced with a drawing of a rabbit. I live alone now, I think, in a small apartment with no mirrors and no photographs. Every morning I wake up with blood under my nails and the smell of lake water in my sheets, and there's a faint humming from the pipes I've never been able to trace. I've stopped trying to leave. Every time I open the front door, it leads to a hallway of hanging teeth and a sign that reads "Loop active, memory sealed." Sometimes I dream about the boy in the closet, but in the dream I'm him, and I'm the one sewing stitches into someone else's skin. And when I look up, it's always me. I think Zoe's gone, or maybe she was just the first one who tried to tell me. Maybe she made it out, but left the version of me that could never forget. There's a box under my bed that I never remember putting there, and inside it is the toothbrush, the X-marked ankle, a mirror shard, and a voice recorder that keeps replaying the same line. Do not remember in sequence. I tried once, remembered the lake, then the humming, then the rug, then the plate, and woke up buried in dirt, soil in my throat, phone in my hand, with one new message from Dad saying, "Now, you understand what we meant by witness." Today I looked in the mirror again, not because I wanted to, but because it pulled me. I saw my reflection blink, speak, and mouth one final sentence. She said, "The loop didn't trap you. You trapped yourself to keep the rest of us in."